for me, it's a two-stage process. I initially started by, after having talked to some of my colleagues in Australia who were using replay or something similar to this in their classes, and they said that the students really positively responded to this. I thought, well, let's investigate whether we have the same at Royal Holloway, and so we did. So I started recording my classes using replay, which worked really well. It's very simple. And then I had also seen a paper in Science on clicker devices, if you like, some years ago, and I thought, that'd be quite nice to try and to get more interactive teaching. At the same time, our class sizes had increased, and so it became actually a necessity to do more interactive teaching with some technology, if you like, technological devices. And then I combined replay and clickers, and it's been a real success so far. Well, ideally, I ask the students to look at the recorded class beforehand, so that's a class from 1 year ago, typically, and in an ideal world, I would then want to use less time teaching and more time doing interactive teaching. So I always have, this is about a 2-hour class. It's called, for example, geochemistry, and it's subject matter that only works when you break up a long class into smaller chunks, and we'll do some practical classes, either some calculations or just some questions or something. And that's one thing I do with them. So several times I do a practical exercise with the students. I often do use the clickers now to do revision so I revise the previous class content with them, and that's often very interesting to see what responses I get. Sometimes I get really responses that are unexpected, then we'll use that to reinforce the material from the previous week. And I use it for just to gauge opinion. Sometimes I ask them whether they like clickers, for example, and that has been very positive so far. And yeah, various kinds actually. The clear benefits are, I think, first it's a modern sort of technology led. The students like interacting with this, so they respond positively to it. I can get responses from a large cohort of students. Nobody needs to expose themselves in front of their peer group, yet they all can somehow interact with the class. They become from a passive consumer sort of, position, they become active. I can break the flow of a class into smaller digestible chunks that can make them think. It's just, and it's more enjoyable teaching overall, I think, for both sides. I've had quite a bit of feedback, initially actually on replay first, and that was actually already very positive. In fact, I've had some students really, both in staff-student committees, saying that they were very happy and asked other lecturers in our earth science department to utilize the same. I've had it in written class feedback that they, at least 20-30% or so commented positively on the clickers. And so yes, it has actually been very successful. I think one of the challenges is just the technology itself. I mean, the technology works extremely well and it's very reliable and really has no problem. You just put your USB stick into the computer, provided you have the software on your laptop, which is also very easy to download from Moodle. And the only thing is only to distribute those 50 or 60 or so clicker devices to the class, so that takes a few minutes, because they're expensive enough that we must not lose them, and the students know that. And so we have to hand them out and collect them back in, and that takes a bit of time and a bit of effort. So with a really big class, that might be a bit of a challenge, but maybe then there's another way of doing it. Ideally, I can imagine having a mobile phone app type situation might even be better, but then one might have the problem of the device is not wanting to talk to your computer. At least with the clickers that are provided as hardware, that really works really seamlessly. Yeah, so regarding attendance, it has actually been quite remarkable. I expected, based on the experience from my Australian colleagues, who admittedly only used the replay equivalent, and they told me, well, do expect a drop in attendance figures, and I thought, it's interesting, but let's give it a go. But I think because the classes we do is both lectures and practicals, although it's mostly still lectures and not so much practice, at least in one of the classes, you could think that students might just stay at home and say, well, I'm not going to come in at 9 o'clock. But I have not seen that. Actually, I have really not seen much drop in class attendance so far, and it's been positive overall. In terms of future use, I think this year I will just try and consolidate a bit what I have been doing last year, and to improve some of, a bit of a question, and to make it a bit more interactive, actually, to even include more slides. So it takes some preparation. You have to sort of envisage what answers the students might give. So preparing clicker question slides, as I call them, actually does take a bit of time. Sometimes I just basically run out of time preparing them. So that's one of the things I want to improve on.